Hey, I'm training to be a championship cuber and documenting the process. If you're new here, every single week I make a training plan for how I'm going to practice cubing, log all of it in a spreadsheet, then make a video like this where I go over what I did the last week and make a plan for the next week. My long-term goal is to make the final round at a major championship for everything from 3x3 up to 7x7 sometime by the end of 2031. The plan for today is to go over what I did last week, which includes abandoning ZB, learning about a whole bunch of potential ways I could train and kind of getting confused, and getting a whole bunch of new cubes, and talk about what I'm going to do next and then my plan for next week. My next competition is Agora Winter 2026. The only event I care about is 3x3, but I'm doing 2x2 because it's funny. I am sponsored by thecubicle.com. Use code TRUE for 5% off. If you need anything speedcubing related, please go shop there. They're a phenomenal company. They make and set up the best cubes in the world, have the widest selection in the Western Hemisphere, and are a phenomenal company who cares about the cubing community. So what did I train last week? 3x3 was a split between basically everything. I learned some ZBLL, I did a lot of cross+1 training, I did a lot of last thought last layer drilling, and I did a lot of solves. The interesting thing about this is even though this says I practiced 3x3 for 12 hours, this is focused time, not total time. Even though ZBLL only has about 3 hours of time on this graph, you need to add about 6.5 hours to this total, all in the ZBLL category. Because there was a lot of time where I was sitting at my desk, but I wasn't totally locked in on algorithms. I was like resting between drills or taking a walk around the block because my brain was tired. I'll talk more about this in a second, but the fact that it takes me so much energy to focus on learning algorithms is most of why I'm not going to pursue ZB right now. My global on solves is around 10.4, which was very, very, very bad. I'll explain more about that later too. I did a lot of 5x5 this week, and it's the only big cube I'm practicing right now. I got an average of 50 down to 1 minute 5 seconds 0.4, which I felt like was quite good. Then I tried to set up my GAN 5x5. The cube got way worse, and my times dropped by like 2 seconds for the rest of the week, which was great. Now I have a new GAN 5x5 thanks to the cubicle, and it is way better, so I'm confident my times will get better this week. Mark Zimmerman sent me back like 20 pages of critiques on my 5x5 solves, and I have a whole bunch of particular things that I need to work on this next week. Let me move my face cam so you can see this stuff. So the first piece of advice he had was that my edge solutions are quite good. I make a few mistakes with my flip decisions during last 4 edges, but for the most part, my solutions are good. I just need to look ahead better, which is encouraging. I do need to use T-centers more often. For context, a T-center is where you have a case like this, where you have the pieces here and then an extra plus center right here. And what you do is you take this piece, you move it down to match this line, and you kick out this 1x3 bar. Then you realign the center and bring the 1x3 back. In cases like this is always the most efficient option. It's super, super efficient and ergonomic. What can happen though is you get cases like this where you have a 1x3 with an attached corner and then a 1x2. And in these scenarios, what I've been doing is reducing this to a square, then inserting this 1x2. What is very often better ergonomically is to take this corner, make a T, then do the T insert. When I get into really heavy flow state, I tend to force the 1x2 solutions, even when there's a really good opportunity to use the T centers. So that's one thing that I need to work on more often. The next thing that I personally thought about this week, which Mark didn't coach me on, but I had to clarify, was what I'm calling directional solving during L4C. So the last 4 centers, I use Yao on 5x5. Solving your last 4 centers is tricky because you can't mess up any of these 3 cross edges as you do it. You have to only use this face to do the building. So once you build your center, which almost always ends up being on you because this is where you're working, you have a decision to make. Do you put this center in the back, on the bottom, or on the front? Or as you build the center, like as I put this bar together, do I put this bar together here and solve this way? Or is it better to be putting the bar together and solving pieces down to here? What I've almost always historically done is assembled my centers here and solved this direction. on 5x5, 6x6, and 7x7. On 6x6 and 7x7, I realized that this is a really bad habit because by solving this section of the puzzle, I can't look ahead here. This is all done. If I put this in the back, now I have a whole bunch of unsolved pieces right here to look at. And I assumed the same principle applies to 5x5. I should be doing building on the top and inserting pieces into the back. The problem with that is that 5x5 is such a short solve compared to 6x6 or 7x7 that the extra moves that it often takes to move this over to the back are not worth it versus the 4 to 6 moves it takes to assemble the bars and insert them here. So now I don't feel guilty about building on U and kind of checking the back of the cube like this and moving my centers forward. That's a mental adjustment that I just had to clean up in my conscience this week, but after considering it and watching Timon solve and Felix solve and getting advice from Mark, I think this is still okay on 5x5. On 6x6 and 7x7, it's definitely not, but because of how fast centers move here, that's not a problem at all. One last thing that I made a lot of mistakes with in my solves, and I assumed I was doing this well, but I wasn't, is finishing first 2 centers. So I have this center here almost done and this center completely done. I use Yao and I always solve my cross edges on white. Something that I've been doing is as I build my last 1x3, sometimes for no particular reason, I would rotate the cube and insert it so that my white center ended up with my right hand. I always pair cross edges into the left. So whenever possible, I need to rotate my last 2 centers so that I'm inserting and ending with white already on my left hand. In probably 25% of my solves, I wasn't doing this. I was ending my last center with yellow on top, or worse, yellow on the left, which means I have to do a rotation like this or a rotation like this to transition into my first 3 Yao edges. That's really silly because almost every ending rotation you do can easily be done as an R and L or R and U insert. So I should just be using this angle at the end of my last 2 centers every single time. Thankfully, for the most part, Mark said that my solutions on 5x5 were quite good. Maddie, Hiroto, and Naba also gave me that advice this last week on the podcast we did together. So that was really encouraging. My 6x6 and 7x7 need a lot more work, but I'm pretty sure that with my new cube that is set up super, super well, again, thank you so much to the Cubicle. Pre-setup cubes are amazing. Along with this extra pieces of advice, I should be able to get some pretty solid times this week and maybe finally crack the sub 1 barrier for average of 5. Okay, back to 3x3. I am not going to learn full ZB, at least no time soon. Here's why. I did a lot of thinking about this week. Something that started happening this last week is I noticed that my practice to desk time ratio was really, really bad. Here's what that is. I track all the time I practice in a spreadsheet, and that's where I get the numbers for these presentations, and the spreadsheet is in my link tree, that's in my description. You can go see literally everything I practice. It's available to anyone. And something my wife started saying to me this week is it seems like you're practicing a lot of cubing, but you're not telling me you are. Like I would be sitting at my desk for 2 or 3 hours and she'd be like, how much practice have you done today? And I'd say, well, look at my spreadsheet. I've done 45 minutes of practice. And she'd go, but you were at your desk cubing for like 3 hours today. What's happening? And I would say, well, look at my spreadsheet. And we were kind of confused because to me, it seemed like I wasn't practicing very much. And to her, it seemed like I was practicing a lot. And what I realized was I was sitting at my desk with a cube in my hand for 2 to 3 hours at a time, but only about 30 to 40 minutes of that was actually focused practice. I have very severe ADHD. I'm not going to dive too deeply into that, but something about that ADHD and the way it's affected my study habits and work habits throughout my entire life is that I get work done in little focused bursts. When I was in college and grad school, I would spend 3 hours at my desk and spend 30 minutes of it writing a paper in the most fast, insane, high-octane way possible, and the other 2.5 hours staring at the screen, literally accomplishing nothing. It's the weirdest feeling ever. I assumed this is how most people were until about 3 months ago when I found out that most people sit down and work the entire time they're at their desk. And that helped me realize a lot about engineering good routines for myself, I need to pick routines for myself that allow me to generally be accomplishing things, to generally take my focus and apply it to work. Looking at the amount of time I logged in my spreadsheet this last week versus the time I was practicing, whenever I'm doing solves, whenever I'm practicing inspection, whenever I'm drilling TPS, the amount of focused practice time I have versus the amount of time at my desk, it's like a 5 to 6 ratio. That's actually wrong. It's not a ratio. 50 minutes out of 60. 50 minutes out of 60 every hour. I'm totally focused versus when I'm at my desk. When I'm learning algorithms, only about 20 minutes out of every hour, I'm truly focused on the practice I'm doing. That's because learning algorithms is super, super hard. Dragging my crazy ADHD brain into learn algorithms mode is so hard. I spent 3 hours at my desk learning 6 algorithms, and I only had 35 minutes of focused time on my spreadsheet. The rest of it was me pacing around my room trying to convince myself to learn the algorithms, or walking around the block, or scrolling YouTube Shorts for 5 minutes, or doing random solves. In order to improve, I have to choose methods of practice that I can focus on. And I am not able to easily focus on learning algorithms, and I don't think it's just me being lazy. So here's why I think I should jump ship on ZB for now. My goal is to make the finals at a major championship. It could be North American championship. It could be Oceanic championship. It could be European championship. It does not need to be the world championship. Likely, the skill level I need to get to is low 6 on 3x3 to get into one of those finals. ZB and CFOP are actually very similar in their speed potential and the way you learn up to that level. ZB is really important if you want to push to low 5 or something like that, but you can get there similarly easily with CFOP in terms of hours put in. The skills you have to learn are different. When talking to Luke Greiser and Caden Lee about should I learn full ZB, and Maddie said this as well, and so did Dylan Miller, the decision criteria for whether I should use full ZB in my solves are number 1, am I good at learning algorithms? Because I'm going to have to learn a lot of algs to learn full ZB. And the second criteria is, can I recognize the algorithms quickly? That's the big determining. And I won't know how fast I am at recognition until 6 to 8 months from now, because I'll have to have learned all the algorithms and have a rough sense for how good I am at it. So that was a moot point. I have now discovered that I am really, really, really bad at learning algorithms. When I'm focused, I'm great. Like when my brain is in gear, I can absorb the information and keep it straight. But getting to the point where my brain can absorb the information is so incredibly difficult that I don't think for me and my goals with my learning style at my current stage of improvement, ZB is the best thing to work on. There's a good chance I pick it back up at some point in the future. But getting better at look ahead, getting better at the fundamentals is so much more important than learning ZB right now. I'll talk more about that in a second, but that's why I think I shouldn't focus on full ZB. So if not full ZB right now, what should I focus on? There are 3 potential paths I could see going down. The first path is to brute force theoretically optimal solutions starting today. So what this would look like is forcing myself to find a 10-move X-cross or better every single solve, probably only using one color, like only white. Reason being, I'm going to try and train myself to think like a computer, to try and find every possible, perfectly optimal solution. And if I'm only having to do all the math on one color, I could find these insanely efficient X-crosses more easily. And the way I would train this is get a scramble, stare at it for a few minutes, find a 10-move X-cross, and if I can't, use CS Timer or solve.no or some other tool to show me an optimal X-cross on that scramble. Then do this again and again and again until my brain becomes like a computer. And I can solve near optimally once I learn this technique. In order to get there, I would need to almost exclusively do inspection training. I wouldn't even be able to do much solving because I can't do this theoretically optimal route. But if the most important skill is optimal inspection, then what I should do is brute force my way to my ideal end state. And if I do enough work at training toward that ideal end state, I get there. I'm not saying this is what I'm going to do. I'm saying this is a path I could go down. This is the mindset I had previously, that starting today, I should train directly toward the final form I want to be in as a 3x3 solver. So clearly I need to start ZB right now, because if I want to get to like 5 seconds flat global average, I need to learn ZB. But there's some flaws in this, which should be pretty obvious. Most people who are adults learn things in a progression. You start with one thing, then the next, then the next, then the next. And if you force yourself to perfect optimal training from day one, you give yourself no progression into that. It's extremely demotivating. And for an adult who learns by principles, grasp principle, internalize principle, then make it instinctive, you can't really just do that. If you're training a really young kid, you could. So that's path one, is go straight to optimal X crosses and training like my final form, and embrace months to years of total sucking. And then when I come out the other end of it, I'm really, really good. Path two of training is to build instincts, which is the final goal, right? To be able to pick up a cube and without doing computational math, get to a good X cross and then look ahead through the solve, largely based on instinct, but build those intentionally. So this would look training like inspecting my cross plus one every time, but they're not going to be optimal cross plus ones. They're going to be a cross and then a first pair that I find, or an X cross that modifies a normal cross solution by something like one move. It still is really good for look ahead. I pick this up by learning how my F2L solutions affect the cube, not by just tracking how pieces are moving, but looking at triggers and seeing how pieces move around. Intentionally learn how my solutions impact everything. There is solving involved and there's training involved. I would be dual color neutral down this path because there's some intentional computational thinking going on, but the point of the computational thinking is to build your instincts as a solver, to look ahead and find good solutions. Over the long run, you still end up as a near optimal solver because you're constantly looking at your solves, refining them a little bit, looking at your solves, refining them a little bit. But it's a much less direct route than from today, learning full ZB, learning to inspect X crosses in 10 moves, and all the theoretically optimal stuff, which is much more like what a lot of the young Chinese kids are doing. The third path I see is to build the instincts I need for cubing very fast over a long period of time without trying super intentionally. So this would look like only inspecting my cross and then maybe tracking the first pair within the first 15 seconds, doing a boatload of solves. Everything I do is based on instinct, not based on intentional training. I would get way faster TPS and much better look ahead just because of brute force and solving a ton. So path one is brute forcing my way to a theoretically optimal solving style. Path three is brute forcing myself to a practically optimal solving style. In this, I have to rely on the fly look ahead. And at some point around sub 8, I'd have to learn to do cross plus one, but I probably learned that just because I've solved so much and I have a ton of instincts built up. This solving style plays really well to full color neutrality, at a minimum dual color neutrality. So which of these paths do I train down? Do I train down the path of theoretical optimal, the path of gradually improving toward optimal, or just embracing instincts and trying to get faster by brute force? The third path is what most cubers have historically done. If you talk to almost any top cuber right now, they will tell you that they improved by doing tons of solves, by spending lots of time with the cube, and over time developing instincts. Lots and lots of fast solvers didn't learn to plan cross plus one until sub 10, sub 9, sub 8. And they learned it more by exposure to solves than by intentional training. And if you look at the way a lot of the highest level Chinese kids are training right now, they're very young, their brains are able to absorb information at an unbelievable rate. They have very aggressive coaches and families who are pushing them to improve super, super hard. And the way they train based on their culture is almost robotic. It doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter what your instincts are, you will solve like this. I don't really fall into either of these buckets. I'm not a pure hobbyist cuber. I don't think path 3 is optimal to get faster, but I also don't think I have the brain, personality, or surroundings to do path 1 well. The middle route of using bridge steps of learning cross plus 1 inefficiently, learning to look ahead and not worrying about prediction, and gradually improving your skill seems ideal for my learning style. There are a couple of analogies I thought of to get to this point. So the first one is chess. The game of chess, I forgot to move my camera back. That's a bummer. The game of chess was massively influenced when chess engines came out that were able to compute better moves than humans could. Today, chess players have to rely on computers to improve their game. But grandmaster chess players don't just copy the computer. You can't take somebody who's never played chess before or is a beginner, show them computer logic, and expect them to get better at the game. In order to utilize optimal computer chess moves, you have to play lots of chess and develop an intuition around what sort of moves are good or bad. If you look at a board, you should have some sense that, there's a weak point on the board. I should attack there. This piece looks vulnerable. Let me do computational thinking to find an optimal attack in this direction. Then once you have that intuition, you study engine lines within a narrow subset of the game, and it sharpens your brain around something that your intuition is telling you to look at. If you're a really young kid, you're a total sponge, then sure, train by copying a computer. You don't have time to develop intuition. You probably have a brain that can just absorb insane amounts of raw data. But I'm not a young child, and the most skilled adult grandmasters in chess aren't either. They don't compute every possible move possible. They pick a small subset of moves that their historic intuition is telling them to look at, and then compute there. So with cubing, my tie back is I shouldn't try and force myself to be a perfectly optimal solver. I shouldn't try and force myself to find 9, 10, 11 move X crosses every solve. I should do a lot of solving, intentionally build my ability to look ahead, pick good F2L pairs, etc., but not try and become optimal from today. Build on intuition, don't just be a computer. The other analogy that got me to this point is paying off debt. Stick with me here. This is Dave Ramsey. You may love him, you may hate him, you may never have heard of him if you're not super American. But Dave Ramsey is a finance guy. He has podcasts where he talks about saving money and getting out of debt and investing and all that sort of thing. And one of Dave Ramsey's big things is if you're in a lot of debt, you need to do whatever you can to pay it all off as fast as possible. And what he recommends doing is if you have a whole bunch of financial debt, what you should do is pick the smallest single debt you have. Maybe you owe your cousin $100. Pay that one off completely. Then move to the next smallest one, like your $500 one, and pay that off. And keep going until all your smallest debts are paid off, then all the medium ones, then all you're left with is the big ones. He calls this the debt snowball because it builds momentum. You completely free yourself from one thing, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. It feels really good. And eventually, by doing this, you pay off all your debt. However, that's not mathematically optimal, in theory. Mathematically, the best way to pay off debt is by paying down whatever loan you have that has the highest interest rate on it. Interest is like how much money the person is charging you to give you the privilege of having a loan. So if somebody has a 10% loan with me and it's really, 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 really big, and somebody has a 1% loan with me, but it's only $20, I'm in no rush to pay back that $20 loan because the interest is so low. But the 10% interest one, I'd better start paying off because it's costing me a lot of money. Dave Ramsey is really smart, and he knows this about money, but he still advises people to pay off their debt from smallest to biggest. Why? Because he prioritizes human motivation over what is mathematically optimal. The reason for that is if you quit paying off your debt, it does not matter if the route you took is mathematically optimal. You still quit and you will still end up in debt. But if you take a suboptimal route to paying off all your debt and you still finish the entire snowball, congratulations, you're debt-free. Did you get there as fast as theoretically possible? No, but you got there, and that's what ultimately matters. When I thought about this principle, I applied it back to learning cubing and learning full ZB, or learning how to inspect super optimally. And down the one path of being a super optimal cuber, I really won't have any good results to show for months or years. Learning full ZB will take forever and slow me down the whole time. Learning extremely optimal inspection will take me months or years, and I won't be able to use it in competition because the inspection times are so short. That's really demotivating. Maybe in 2 years it's theoretically optimal, which is kind of what I talked about in a previous video where I explained the dip. But I don't think, for me, that's the best dip to attack. Because as I go, there's a high likelihood that I won't work as hard because I'll have no little bits of motivation. There's a high likelihood that I'll abandon ship because the whole thing just stinks. Taking path 2 of learning with gradual improvement has mile markers that show that you're getting better, which means that from a human angle, even if it's not theoretically optimal, it's higher likelihood that I stick with it all the way through. Okay, that's a lot of reasoning as to why I'm not going to do full ZB. But I hope that clears things up for anybody who's like, you just said you were, now you're not. But yeah, right now, my bottleneck is not last layer, and I also don't think it's inspection. I think it's look ahead. This was really shocking for me to realize, but inspecting better will not really improve my solving that much. Looking ahead better will a ton. Let's say I can't plan my first F2L pair, but I have really good look ahead. I solve cross kind of slowly, then I solve the rest of F2L without pausing at all. I would probably be around 9 seconds to high 8 with my current turning speed. If I could perfectly plan cross +1, that makes it easier to look ahead during the rest of F2L. But if my look ahead stays at its current level, I still won't be pauseless every single solve. So which is more important? Developing my F2L look ahead enough to be pauseless and get down to around a 9-second level, or developing my inspection enough to guarantee I'll never pause during the first few turns of my solve? I think the first one. I should learn to look ahead better. I think I have a little graph on here. Yes, I do. Of a whole bunch of different skills that go into 3x3. Inspecting your first moves is important. Looking ahead through your solution so that you don't pause is important. Predicting things, not looking ahead where you recognize what's coming next as you turn, but predicting from the first F2L pair what your third one will be instantly. That's a difficult skill. That's like an evolution of looking ahead. Solution quality, what moves you are choosing to do matters a lot. Turning speed matters a ton. So which of these skills do I need to focus on right now? Until now, I've thought it was inspection, but I think that's actually wrong. Even if my inspection is really good, I, right now, still pause and go kind of slow after that. If my inspection is bad or mediocre, look ahead can make up for it. Even if I have bad inspection, look ahead helps. Even if my inspection is unbelievably insanely good, and I can plan 2 F2L pairs perfectly every solve, I still need look ahead to get through the next 2 F2L pairs. Even if my final form is predicting my first 3 F2L pairs, I still have to learn look ahead before I can do that. Because look ahead, being able to trace through your solve as you go and find the next thing you're going to do, is a stepping stone to being able to predict everything from not turning at all. I shouldn't even be thinking about prediction yet because I'm not even remotely confident. I can't even confidently solve cross +1 with my eyes closed. I can do it, but it's shaky. I need to be rock solid at that. Look ahead and lots of solves are the stepping stone to being able to predict. My solution quality is actually quite good. I've sent a number of critiques out to coaches, and just about everybody has notes on, hey, you could improve here or there, but it's not severe. My turning speed is not the bottleneck. Just about anybody who watches me solve tells me something along the lines of, you get really good times even though you turn slow. What if you just turned faster? And I look at them and go, thanks for that. I really would have never thought of that before. Really, I can't turn faster if my look ahead doesn't get better. My PLL is really fast. I have better PLL time attacks than most people who are sub 9 or sub 8. But I can't use that turning in a solve if I don't have the look ahead to see what comes next. And inspection alone will not fix that, because if I don't have look ahead, even if I plan my first F2L pair, I will still have to turn slowly through it to find my second or third one. Look ahead is the limiter to turning speed and overall solve time. And also you could say just drill your last layer, but that has marginal returns compared to better F2L, so I don't think that's the best thing to do. So if you flowchart this, for me right now, my basic F2L solutions are good. I've literally gone through every single F2L case on SpeedCubeDB from every single angle, and I'm using very good solutions for all of them. I can plan my cross without fail every single solve. I can find good, easy X crosses and double X crosses, not always, and I can roughly intuit what a good first pair will be based on looking at EO and position of corners, but I'm not super good at it yet. I also have quite solid finger tricks and algorithms. There are little things I could improve here or there, but the fundamentals are all solid. So I think the bottleneck skill that will unlock everything else is better look ahead. If I do better look ahead, my TPS will naturally go up because I will be looking ahead at what comes next, so I can turn faster because I see what's coming. My ability to inspect will improve as my understanding of piece movement improves. Inspection is just look ahead without turning the cube. If my look ahead during the solve gets better and I solve a lot to develop that, I'll be able to see further in inspection. This progression of just solving and focusing on look ahead will probably get me down to low 9 or even sub 9. Then my inspection training will be better because I will have more understanding of how pieces move. Right now, training inspection is very, very difficult because my grasp on how pieces move around the cube is poor. If I improve that ability, looking at how pieces move, I will be able to improve at inspection faster. I'll be stronger in one area and I can apply that strength to another one. After I have good look ahead as a base skill and I can plan cross +1, then I should be looking at complex X crosses, the really efficient 10 move or less ones. But I shouldn't be worrying about that until my base look ahead is good and my basic X crosses are good. At that point, I'll have enough understanding of things that I can add more complex layers of instinct to my solving. Then there's other skills like choosing multi-slot solutions where one F2L pair affects the next one instead of just what the best solution is in a vacuum for an individual pair. And then to get really, really fast, I'm gonna have to focus super hard on maximizing my TPS. But I think the unlock for all this is look ahead, not inspection, and not raw turning speed. There are a couple of particular skills that I think I need to work on to improve my inspection. I'll touch on those here. These are kind of like instincts that I need to add into my solving that I'm doing poorly. One of them is building X crosses from the D layer. Here's an example of an X cross that I would have never seen before this week. So let's take this really easy cross. 3 edges are solved. They get a line like this, and there's a red edge down here. Up until this week, when I did some X cross training and looking at optimal solutions, I would not have seen an X cross here. There's a free pair right here. And what I would have done is solved this red edge, moved this pair over, and then rotated and inserted into the back like that. Okay, but check this out. If you take this F2L pair, you move this cross edge right here, and then you put this in the D layer, and you move this F2L pair over, you can insert it into a slot like that. So if you have the case from this angle, where this edge is flipped in the bottom and this is here, you can do something crazy like this, where you put this edge in the bottom, make a block out of it from the bottom, and then insert it over here. I know I showed that in kind of a convoluted way, but before the last 2 days, I never, ever, ever thought about intentionally putting pairs in the D layer and pairing from the bottom. I only thought about making X crosses by going from the top into the slots. This has unlocked a whole bunch of different block building things for me, like having a corner edge pair here, and then using the D layer to move an edge into here, and then making a keyhole like that, or an F2L pair insert like what I just showed you. So that's one area where I need to work on things. Another one is not forcing keyhole X crosses every time. I'm not gonna show you an example of this, but Luke Garrett just put up a bunch of example solves on his channel, and the first one, I believe, in that video, he shows how he could do an X cross using keyhole, where he has a block of corner and edges in the bottom layer and an oriented edge. And he chooses to not do keyhole as an X cross because he has an easy pair elsewhere in his top layer, and he could save that for later. You know what? Let me just show you an example anyway. Let's take this example. We have a cross solve down here, and there's a block right here. The orange-green edge that matches this block is right here. It's oriented. We can solve it using RUL moves. And then there's this pair on the top. If I were inspecting this, I would almost certainly go for this as an X cross. I would take this out and solve it into here, and then finish the X cross. That is not a great idea because this pair is on top. If I finish the normal cross without making an X cross out of it, then solve this pair into the back, this edge is still oriented and it's just as efficient as doing it during the cross. I have a really bad habit of any time I see the potential of doing a keyhole X cross like that, where you pair up an edge with a corner and then align the cross, I always do it, even if it's super inefficient. That means that I've been missing a ton of good opportunities to do other efficient first pairs that leave me with a really good second pair afterward. I've been making 2, 3, 4, 5 move inefficiencies because I see a potential X cross using keyhole, so I'd better go for it, right? No, that's actually a bad habit that I should not always do. So those are 2 things I'm thinking about, like instincts I need to change in my 3x3 solves. This is path 2. It's find particular things in my solving that aren't perfect, improve them a little bit, make them instinctive, and then repeat that over and over and over again to proceed toward being optimal. So this is a general question I've had. Why am I not improving very much? There are a number of people who watch my videos and go, man, it seems like Brandon's not improving that fast. If he wants to get to world championships, why is it that he's been stuck at the 10-second barrier for like 2 months now? Why am I waffling? I wanted to do ZB. Now 3 weeks later, I'm not doing ZB. I was going to train inspection. Then I decided ZB. Now I'm back to look ahead. What is happening? Am I crazy? Am I lazy? Am I irresponsible? I have these questions too, so I wanted to think through them for a little bit. There's a whole bunch of reasons I think for these things. One of them is I'm trying to listen to coaches and find my way in what to practice. Every coach, Luke Garrett, Dylan Miller, Caden Lee, the ones I've worked with, they all have ideas for what I should do. The thing is, ultimately, I need to find what suits me, not what worked for my coach. And right now, I'm not really improving in results, but I have improved in my understanding of how solving works. Once I find the particular thing that suits me, I will have a breakthrough in results. Cubing improvement goes in step changes where you jump a few fractions of a second. It's not a super clean, steady progression. Talk to any fast solver. They'll tell you about the day something clicked and they magically dropped half a second off their times. The process is learn something, then implement it. You don't get faster until the last 10 or 15% of implementing a new skill. Say you learn a bunch of new algorithms, like OLL. You learn the algorithms over a few weeks. Then you start using them in your solves for a few more weeks. Your times only improve after like 8 or 9 weeks of grinding. And then all of a sudden your times drop out of nowhere because everything you learned and have been practicing and fine-tuning finally clicks. The last few weeks, because I've been trying to figure out what method's gonna suit me, all the practice time has not been in that last 10% of this practice gets you results. It's been in the early stages of should I do this at all? So I've been doing work, but it hasn't been producing results that drop my times. It has been sharpening what I want to do. Another reason I haven't seen results is I've drastically oversold what I can do to other people. So like when talking to coaches, sometimes they would give me a goal, like you should solve your cross plus 1 in 1.5 seconds. And I would think about it and go, man, that sounds impossible. I solve it in like 2.5, 2.3, 2.4 seconds, which is really slow because my look ahead is bad and my inspection is bad. But coaches assume this is approximately my skill. So I've definitely oversold myself to coaches, and that's meant that they've given me recommendations that are not reflective of my actual skill level. Another problem is I was really overconfident in my ability to tackle a giant problem. So I was like, yeah, I can for sure learn ZB. It's going to be a big hard hill, but I can climb it. And then I started learning it and I realized, oh man, this is a ton of work and I don't think I am cut out for it. I couldn't know that till I started, and I had an extreme overconfidence before I started it. Now I know. Same thing with learning move optimal X crosses. I assumed that the best path for me would be to learn a super hard skill today, not worry about my times, and I would pick it up eventually. Turns out, I'm not that special. Turns out, I'm not the exception to the rule. I need to assume this is going to be a hard, slow grind. I need to look at what everybody else has done, doing lots of solves, gradually improving the fundamentals, and getting better that way. Not try to have some sort of magical sub-8 breakout competition in a few months from now by learning the hardest skill possible. I'm not going to be the world champion, and I know that. I just need to plan on the long, slow path of improving my fundamental skills of turning well and looking ahead well and getting a little faster over time. And that should do the trick. So you'll probably hear a little bit less from me about going dark for 6 months and not having results than magically getting better later. There will be a lot more small incremental gains over time. So the things I've worked on so far with training inspection super deeply and learning tons of algorithms, those might have been distractions. Maybe I just straight up made a mistake in trying to learn those. But every successful business person, competitor, artist, people who I admire who've achieved great things in many arenas of life that are far more meaningful than cubing, they have all talked about many weird, seemingly unusual sections of their journey that at the time felt like a mistake, that down the line they said, those were parts of the process. I needed those rabbit trails to shape who I am today. And these weird, this weird last month of, I should inspect deeply. No, I should learn full ZB. No, I should do this weird, hyper-optimal Chinese kid grind. All of that stuff is more just me trying to understand what will work for me. It's finding my path. So maybe it was a total mistake. Maybe I blew it for the last month and was overconfident and messed up. We'll see. I don't know. At a minimum, I hope all of the thinking in public is valuable for somebody watching this video. I hope that it's thought-provoking for the community, which it seems to be. The interview I did with Maddie Inaba a few days ago got a lot of traction, and there's a few people who've been making videos about the ideas in it. It's cool. I think that even if the last month was not a net positive for my own cubing progression, it helped other people. So that's a win in my book. Okay, other fun stuff. I got a ton of new cubes. Thank you so much to Phil and the Cubicle. And I wanted to talk about a few of the things that I got and what my new main is now. I'm going to start with 3x3 because it's the one most people care about. I've been using the Weilong V11 because it was the cube that seemed like the most solid choice. Historically, I've really liked MoU cubes. They're very reliable. They're priced at the middle of the price ranges, and it didn't seem like I could go wrong with it, and I've been very happy with it. Phil sent me a few puzzles that he said he thought I might like instead of the V11. He sent me this, which is the MGC Beta. It's an extremely solid cube. It performs really well. It feels really solid to turn, a little bit sandy, kind of clacky, but just very, very good. I'm super impressed with this puzzle. The problem is, when I compare it to everything else, there's no good reason to buy this when the RS3MV5 exists, which is, I think, the same price or cheaper than this puzzle, and better in essentially every way in terms of stability and feel and corner cutting and overall performance. So this is an interesting puzzle, but I don't think it really has a place for me or anyone unless you know exactly what feel you like, and it's that. I used to main the RS3MV5. This is an incredibly good puzzle. It's priced super reasonably, and if anybody who's a casual cuber asks me, I just want a pretty good speed cube. I want it to be very good, but I don't want to pay insanely expensive. What should I get? This is what I'm recommending, for sure. It is an unbelievably good cube, and there are many fast people who still main this, especially in one-handed. But compared to the V11, it just doesn't cut it. The V11 is better than this. So this cube is really, really good. I love it, super satisfying to turn, insanely satisfying to turn, but this is not my main. Just want to stress, it is so good. It is so, so good, and for the price, many people should get it. So that left 2 GAN cubes, and this shocked me. I hadn't tried GAN cubes since the GAN 12, and I liked the GAN 12, but I haven't been a fan of GAN cubes since the GAN XS was the last one that I mained. I've really liked Moyu cubes historically. They're really solid, they perform really well, they don't feel gimmicky, they're solid, they're nice to turn, the price point is good. So going into opening up the GAN V100 and the GAN 16, I was not wanting to like these. I was just curious how they felt. I started by opening the GAN V100, and after doing some solves with it and getting into the puzzle, it's really, really, really interesting. It's lightweight and very tactile. GAN cubes have this bump feeling with the magnets where the cube kind of stabilizes and aligns itself, which I'm not huge on. And this cube has just a little too much of that for me to be a fan, but I still love the puzzle. The two drawbacks for me are, number one, the size. I really like cubes being a full 56 millimeters, which I believe both of these are. This cube feels just a little too small in my hands. And number two is how tactile it feels. I don't want to constantly feel the cube auto-aligning and doing its own thing. So this cube is very, 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 very good. Speed, corner cutting, weight, and just how satisfying it is to turn make it neck and neck with the V11, but I would still take the V11 over this personally. And the V11, actually no, they're similar in customizability. So super good cube. This is a preference toss-up. And if your price range is like 40 to 50 bucks, get either of these, try them in a competition and see which one you like. So that left the GAN 16. And this is my new main. It is unbelievably good. My problem with GAN cubes that I've tried historically is they try to solve for you, and you can't fight the puzzle. You have to let the cube do its weird auto alignments. They feel really blocky, they can't corner cut, and unless your solving style is perfectly catered to the GAN cube, it just isn't gonna work for you. So I've always liked Moyu. This puzzle strikes the balance between GAN's premium, satisfying feel and a stability that makes it feel very safe to solve with, without it feeling like the cube is getting in my way. The reason I like Moyu cubes so much is because they feel so smooth to turn. I never have to think about the puzzle when I'm turning. I'm just doing a solve. With GAN cubes, historically, I've been very aware of the puzzle as I solve, not just the solution that I'm trying to do. This cube brings those both together incredibly well. It's really satisfying to turn, but I don't feel like I'm thinking about what's so satisfying. It's the right size, it's very fast, and extremely stable. The settings I landed on are, let me double check this. I'm using the medium length strength magnets. I've got the center travel at 5 and the elasticity at 4. So quite loose and fast, but for me, this puzzle is just insane and I love it to pieces. So I asked Phil to send me another couple so that I have backups and my wife and I can do practice drills on it and such. I love this puzzle. If you are a dedicated cuber, this has so much customizability and so many features. If you're an adult who wants to buy one cube and it's okay if it's more expensive and you want it to work for you, get this one. This is so, so good. If you're a speed cubing enthusiast and you want to give it a shot, get this one. Cube Reviews World News, just wanted to give my thoughts on those puzzles. A few other puzzles I got sent. I've been using a GAN 5x5 for like a year now, but I didn't realize how bad mine was until I got a pre-set up one from the cubicle. My mind is blown. This is so much better than me setting up my own puzzles. So got that. 2 more puzzles I got sent that I was interested in. I got the PyCube Aofu V5 and the PyCube Aosu, whatever version we're on now, the new one. And this 7x7 is not as good as the stock version. You do not need to buy the PyCube version. It feels really over-engineered. There's extra friction and rigidity to the way it turns that is just not nice compared to the stock triple track. So if you want a 7x7, the Aofu V5 triple track is for sure the best one on the market right now. You don't need to bother with the PyCube one unless you just really like an extremely stable, over-engineered feeling in your puzzle. And then I did not know how much better this was than the Worm Aoshi. When this came out, I saw reviews from a few really fast solvers like Ethan Cho who said they weren't sure if they liked this better than the Worm, so I didn't buy it. And then I scrambled at my competition that happened a few weeks ago, and I was like, what in the world? This is so much better. And I got my own, and I can confirm it's faster, it corner cuts better, it just feels better. If you're gonna get a 6x6, get this one. Okay, I think that's all the hardware stuff. Apparently I'm now, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. The best thing I got, the absolute greatest thing ever. I can't believe I almost forgot about this. Oh my goodness. This timer, dude. This is the GAN timer, the GAN Halo timer. It was out of stock at a couple stores, but the Cubicle had them. Bro, if you are a cuber alive in the year 2026 or later, you have to get this. I don't care that the SpeedStacks timer is the official one. I don't care that this is not the same shape. This timer is so good for two reasons. One is the quality of the thing. It charges with USB-C. It's a low profile. It's really satisfying. It has all these lights, these customizable features. You can save a whole bunch of times directly on the timer. So build quality. But the biggest one is its Bluetooth. This directly connects to CS timer on your computer super easily. I could never, for the life of me, get any SpeedStacks timers to connect to my timers on my computer. I bought like 4 different adapters to my computers. I've tried it on like 4 different computers, 3 different cables. It never works. I set this up on my iPad, on my computer, on my phone in like it was like a minute, 60 seconds. Works perfectly. I did not know how unbelievably good solving on a Bluetooth timer would feel, and now I cannot go back. If you're an adult or a teenager or anybody who has the money to spend on one of these, go buy it right now. This makes me unreasonably happy when I'm solving. I'm really sad I missed out on this for the previous part of my life, and I'm thankful I have one now. Code true at the Cubicle, everybody. Look at me. I'm becoming a GAN fanboy. This is not what I thought 2026 would have for me, but here we are. Okay. Yes. Shilling the Cubicle one more time. Okay, next week, finally, my next set of practice, given everything I have said. For 3x3, I'm gonna do quite a bit of solving, but with breathing room so that I can focus on look ahead every single solve. Previously, I've been solving like really, really fast. Solve, scramble, solve, scramble, solve, scramble, without breathing between solves. Every solve, I want to do a really careful job of mentally resetting myself so that I can, every solve, be clean and focusing on look ahead, solving slow without pauses. Weirdly enough, I haven't been doing that lately. And then just a little bit of drilling each day. But the goal is to build up instincts, to get better at the motion of solving and looking ahead. And I think the best way to do that is a bit of drilling and then solving. 5x5, I'm going to spend this week doing another average of 50 a day for that, add in the optimizations I got from Mark Zimmerman's critiques, and hopefully break some records. That's it for this week. Drop your questions, comments, thoughts below, and I'm going to get back to work.